So what Struct Club is about, what we stand for, is bringing structure to fitness instruction, namely that music-inspired fitness instruction. How it works: the app contains one thing. You'll see it across the app, across the different pages, across the different tabs. There is this persistent square with a play button. In the app, we call it the class. It is a playlist with cues. So that's the special thing on top of the playlist itself. What is a cue? We kind of like bandy throw around this term of cues in group fitness. But in its simplest form, you're like, hey, Google, what's a cue? What is that? Cue: a thing said or done that serves as a signal to an actor or other performer. I love this definition because it's like kind of the question is, what do you need in class? A quick cue, a reminder to remember, for those who have been actors in the room, for those who have been musicians, for those who have been dancers. There's some cue that you create for yourself to remember in that moment of performing what it is that you needed, because at the end of the day, part of our job as group fitness instructors is to perform and entertain. And all these other artists and performers do have cues. We need them too. As we jump in, there are two cue spaces. They're the cues when you're actually running class. Maybe it's a word or a phrase that you need in the moment. Stand up. Maybe it is a auto readout of the song BPM, which we've got. Maybe it's a little intensity cue, like easy, medium, hard, all out, or a percentage, or a color. And maybe it's the percentage of the color that has filled up this segment of time. Like, ooh, we're about approaching halfway through this interval. A countdown timer, we got 12 seconds left. Or maybe you can see how many times when it heats up, the beat drops in this song. Maybe you need a few extra notes, like let's get the heart rate back up. Maybe it's an emoji. We cool down after this. That's like pretty scripted. Maybe you don't need all that, but maybe you intend to remind yourself of that in class in case. We have an editing space. It's kind of your canvas of creation, along a timeline of the playlist, popping those phrases in, those words in, the colors, pressing the mark, finding that place where either the song transitions or the beat drops, or if you want to get that granular, auto readout of the song BPM, and your standard player controls the class. And then across the app, there are actually 3 sections where these classes come into play. The first one we call Explore. It's going to be the first thing that you see. It is our global class template library. So some of these classes, these templates, are provided by Struct Club. Some of them are provided by fellow members. You are able to, perhaps for the first time, be featured in an app with your templates globally, and we do compensate for that. Team. These are classes, class templates provided by any team that you're on, section 2. And then section 3 that we'll get into is the library, your own personal library, your classes / templates. So we've used this word a few times called templates. We actually use that often interchangeably with this term of classes, the cues to playlists. And the big idea is that in the Struct Club app, every class, and frankly, even every song, is a template to eliminate rework and that effect of listening to a song 50 times over and over again. Templates, every class is editable. You can make copies of it. You can reuse songs with all the cueing that's in the song, and so on and so forth. So app time. We're going to tour the app really quick. We're going to run a class. We're going to button mash and edit a class so you can see it. This wolf icon, Struct Club icon, that's where we live once you've downloaded us and what we look like. And before we dive into like any one of these given squares or classes, I'm gonna actually lead you straight to the bottom where we separate these 3 sections of classes that we've talked about. So library, this is your space. Team, it's like the team exclusive space with classes. What we got pulled out up right now is the Ride Team Library by Crunch Signature and Explore, our general global class templates. So those three spaces, Explore, Team, and Library. And even before we run class, this has some amazing, a little overview. I'm going to click into the details of the class. So this is a great way to, as you're running a class or as you're prepping class, kind of like review the landscape. You can see the title, you can see the author. So if any of you instructors provide a template for the team or put one out there to the world, you'll see your name and lights in the app here. This is a 45-minute class. And then we'll go into this in a little bit, but you'll be able to add as many copies to your library if you want to edit it or save down a class that you really like from any of the libraries. And here we've got the Ride 2.0 template. The level is beginner to intermediary. And we got a little bit more information. You can always pop open or close a more like lengthy description that's here. You can also see, we'll feature the creator's Instagram. So you can click right in here and jump over to their IG page. And you can also preview the playlist and just see what it's composed of. And we're gonna go ahead and jump into the run mode. We're gonna see these cues play by play. So once I hit the play button, and now we've got the cues laid on top. This is the class intro song. And we got the auto readout of the BPM of this track, so you don't have to like tap or Google it or anything like that. Since we haven't started yet, the intensity cue for this is open. And we got time remaining in this class intro song segment, 2 minutes and 43 seconds. When I hit play, I'm gonna kind of like tap on this number. What I like about that is when you get down to the wire and you're like, oh, how do I count down on the beat like 4, 3, 2, 1? You can switch between time and beats to have a beat driven countdown timer as well. And this is your note, 5 minutes out to start. Just start the music and help people with their setup. Great reminders. Sometimes I forget about this when I'm running into the room a little bit on the later side than maybe I wanted to. Ask people their names. Oh yes, really good. Thank you, Grace, for the reminders, because otherwise I might have forgotten all these things when I was starting class. I'm going to kind of tap open and tap close these notes anytime I want to zoom in and zoom out. And then I can also see what is coming up next. 2 minutes out and bike setup. 1 minute out, 30 seconds to start. So you have little reminders that I'm gonna kind of fast forward through this are staged out. So when you're in that moment, what do I do? What do I say? Was I supposed to say something right now? Grace has put this together as an example of all of those things that you need to do, kind of that like checklist before class, but in the moment of class of when you need it. I'm gonna go into a bit more of a dynamic song. So right now we're in a seated recovery, BPM 63, easy intensity. We're here for 15 seconds. Enjoy your recovery here, back to climbing, and for longer intervals next to get to the other side of this hill. Oh, so clever. So you had enough time now, and this is the moment where we find the beat. Got 30 seconds to do it. Moderate effort. Find the beat with your feet. Cadence, call out, give it a range, 60 to 70 RPM with light resistance. Start adding enough resistance to feel the incline and stay on the beat. Working towards moderate to heavy intensity. So you can see here, I'm gonna tap this really quick. So you can see the beats countdown as well as the time countdown. And Grace has done a really good job with this. I'm gonna let the beat drop and we're gonna see that transition to the standing climb. Cool. It gives me the cue by cue. We got the cues right here. I can see it gets hot a couple of times. I can see the song is going to cool down a little bit in the middle, glance and go. And it's synchronized with the beat. So I'm not going to miss it. There are a couple of ways to view run mode. There's this just kind of like native view. I'm going to click this little arrow up top to the right. And for those of you who don't need kind of the expanded view and you just need a list of intervals, cool. Here they are. Here are the interval lengths, and it's going to count down. And if you scroll through, it's going to snap back to like wherever it is that you are at the interval change. You can see how many songs are left, how much time has gone by in class, and how much time is left over in class. Another thing that I like, I took it on the treadmill and I decided to unlock the vertical horizontal view. The shelf on the tread was better for this view. Sometimes I'll like screen share if I'm in a room that has Apple AirPlay. So a couple ways to view it. The next question is like, how do we get here? How do we get the cues here? So we're going to dive into edit mode. Throughout the app, in the other sections, what you'll see, whether it's in the library or in Explore, some of you are familiar, whether it's through Instagram or another creator tool where you're creating something, is this plus button, the create button. Go ahead and select that and just kind of start from scratch to create a class and put the cues in the timeline. You've got a few options to start out with. For those of you who are more music driven first, playlist is the #1 way that folks are creating class, which is why it's on the top. And then this is one of my founder favorites, is the second option called Songs by Move, which is so dope because it just auto sorts all of the songs, all of the tags that you have into just like tag buckets, like cue buckets. We're going to start from scratch with playlists. I made this one called Vinyl Velvet the other day. I'm just going to pick that one. And just to check that we got it right, this is the right playlist. It's going to give you a little bit of a preview. And you're going to see it auto read the BPM of each of the songs. So we're going to go ahead and select this playlist. And you will see another one of my founder favorites, reuse cues. What? It notices that I have used some of these songs before. Would you like to automatically reuse cues for all repeated songs? In general, I would. In this case, we're going to start fresh so I can just show you exactly how it works from the start. Welcome to editing cues, our editing timeline, how we put stuff into this playlist timeline in the first place. Before we dive in and do all the button mashing, I'm just going to orient with like what it is that we're looking at here. I'm going to close up this top space for a second, which is where all of the content goes. As you can see, first thing we encounter here is a timeline. You can already see there's a song here. Go ahead and like start to add moves and cues. And then below that, you're going to see a set of standard player controls. I think this is going to be familiar to every single one of you, where you've got the song timeline, play button, skip back, skip forward. This is the mark button, just a way to mark the point in the timeline that you want a specific cue to be at. All the way to the bottom, there are two views of this timeline. There's a horizontal view, which is this, where we're at right now, and then the playlist. So timeline, view, playlist, view. I think you'll be familiar with this concept of playlist view. Cool. So now that we kind of know where we're at, I'm going to go ahead and like follow this instructions. It's like calling me to add moves and cues. It's got this like very bright purple outline. What it'll do is it'll open up this little cue space. And there are kind of two types of cues. There are quick cues and there are notes, which is basically just an open space for you to put whatever it is that you want if you want to. All of these cues are totally optional and up to you. I'll just give an example. We're going to start with this first one, the move. Add, it's calling to me, bright purple button, add moves and cues. Over time, this is going to start to recognize your programming patterns. another founder's favorite area, where it's going to count how many times you've used certain cues. If you're in a session, if you have a pattern of like, chorus, verse, for those who love music and music structure and doing kind of like ABC patterns, it's going to recognize that during the session and recommend to you moves to use that you have moves in the past. In this case, I'm going to say, because this is like the very top of the playlist, I'm going to warm up. So I hit W for warm up. In fact, warm up comes up. You can also type in whatever you want. You can make up a move if you're creative and type that in, but that'll populate and fill out here. Some people like colors. So we've got this intensity bar and various settings on intensity, but if we pick easy, you'll see it turn blue. Moderate turns it yellow. Hard turns it orange. All out. We're not going to do an all out warm up at the moment, but just to demonstrate, I'm going to put this back down easy. You got this display, auto display of the BPM of the song, but maybe you're like, say if we're like riding or if we're pulsing, we're actually going to be doing it at like half the tempo. You can use these arrows to do auto math for display of the BPM that you want to be showing in class. It's not going to change the tempo of the song. It's just going to change the display. So this duration cue of this segment that is circled is just auto calculated. So let's say in Beyonce's Virgo's Groove, the beat drops or the music transitions or like the chorus hits. We're going to hit this button, this mark button down here, and it's go pop. And it slices this timeline into more segments where if you want to, I know there are a lot of like really detail oriented folks in the room who like just want to choreograph every class down to the T and not just tag the song warm up, which we do have a lot of folks. It's just like, this is just the warm up song. We're just warming up. That's all I need. Cool. But you can measure the music. And so we've got this segment highlighted and you can see the duration of this segment. Like the beat drops here, it goes to here, and it's 29 seconds. And maybe you'll use that to make a decision of what to do, because maybe 29 seconds is long enough for a certain activity, but maybe it's too short for another activity. So it'll just do that timestamp math for you. The only other cue to put in here is, I'm going to toggle over to notes, whatever it is that you want. And sometimes it is literally fire emojis. Love it. That's it. By the way, if you ever throw down a mark and you want to remove it, you can touch it, delete it. You're like, the beat didn't actually drop there. Or, that's actually too much. I don't need to use that transition. Cool. Just delete it. You can also touch it and just like move it around. For those who are like heavy choreographers, a little founder favorite that I want to share is you can just like auto select what segment that you're in based on where this playhead is. Or if you're listening to the song over here, but you actually want to be editing here, just tap this. And if it's green selected, it actually doesn't matter where the playhead is. So it's not interrupting your editing when you're over here listening to the song, but you're like still back here editing and deciding what is it that I wanted to do, like based on what's happening later in the song or how the song is progressing. So for those who are more of the choreographers in the room and the creative types, we have all those options. But again, if you wanted to, you could really just be big picture and say that this is a warm-up song. We're good. Last thing here, I'm going to touch on this song and show you how to swap the song while keeping the cues. Start fresh or keep the cues. And what this will do is one of the things I love is you can actually just like pick a song from one of your playlists, or you can pick from scratch. When you search, it'll search, basically it'll be like Spotify in terms of like the search logic. Cool. I'm going to back out of that, jump into the playlist view real quick, and just show you that a lot of the conventions around deleting songs, changing order of the songs is conventionally identical to other playlist apps that you may use. There's a cool hidden feature that's a founder's favorite. Long press, copy, and paste. So you can copy and paste songs with their cues across classes and just not have to do the rework again. Again, the app will recognize if you reuse a song and you're importing it into a playlist. So I'm gonna hit done, and that was editing a class from scratch. A lot of you are like, oh, I'm not going to want to do this from scratch. I'm going to want to go into the team space and take Grace's ride and like maybe switch out a song or something like that. You're welcome to do that too. Just want to show you how it's done from the ground up. So let's go ahead and do that really quick, just like what that looks like. I'm going to actually jump into a different library. This is our Tread Heads, the week 1 45-minute class template by Jess, called Turn and Burn. It's got the description of what it is all about, so you can get a little preview. And here's how to add a template to your library. There's this button on any class template page called Add to Library. I pressed it and success. Turn and Burn was added to your, yes, I want to view it. I totally do. And here it is, Turn and Burn. I'm gonna edit it. And maybe I want a new song, so we're gonna go ahead, let's swap out the song. Y'all know the drill now, but this is how to use a template, copy it to your library, and not start from scratch. Another founder favorite thing is the swipe shortcuts that we have in the app to like enter a class, the editing mode, or to actually can share classes. To share a class, it'll create a link and drop this into a friend's library. You can delete a class and you can make copies of the class. So you can make as many. I'm going to duplicate this class 5 times because I actually want to keep the template and the cues, but I want to switch out all the songs because we got different themes. So you can see how to do that really easily. And then if you've decided against it, how to clean it up. Love the quick swipes.